What's going on, everybody? It's LtBuzzLitebeer, and today I felt we really needed to have a discussion about the recent supposed leak, the response from the dev team, and we also need to talk about what this means in terms of new content for this franchise. But before we begin, in case you haven't yet smashed that sub button for intensive Division content, please do so. And don't forget to ring the bell to never miss a future upload notification from my YouTube channel. You can also really help out the channel by watching this entire video, rating and or sharing the video, and of course, leaving a comment. Let's go. I just wanted to briefly mention a couple of other games I have been following and experiencing before we dive into the Division 2. Now, first up, in case you didn't know, the Outriders Demo is out on all platforms except Stadia and is free to play. So if you are interested in trying that out, I'm going to leave a link to their official Outriders website, and from there, you can read up on where and how to download the demo. Second, The Day Before, a PvP survival game that looks like it was ripped straight out of the original Division game, has been really ramping it up over on Twitter, and I covered their demo a few weeks back, and it really garnered some attention. Anyways, they announced they will be showing off even more gameplay this weekend over at the IGN Fan Fest. And if you are interested in checking it out, I will also leave a link to that event in the video description and, of course, my pinned comment. With the house cleaning out of the way, let's jump into today's Division topic. And the first thing I wanted to show you is this. Now, I know that most of you have already heard or read about the supposed dev team leak over on the Ubi forums, but this is the actual wording from the original Reddit post sent over to me by Rogue Icewolf, and many thanks for this. Anyways, you all know about the post once it makes it to the story content below there, but what you probably didn't get to see is the original post title and the paragraph leading down to the main body. And so, here it is, and I am quoting, "Division 2 leaks, fresh out of the oven," with 5 or 6 exclamation points. Get them while it's hot. Discussion spoiler, all one word. Hey guys, first of all, you guys are in for a treat that I can tell. Heard some amazing things from our connection at Ubi Massive working on the future content of the game, and rest assured, its announcement is upon us on E3 2021. The following leaks aren't an etching in stone, so take them with a grain of salt, please, as I am relaying this information as received. So let's get on with the show. I originally got to see the wording over on Reddit before the member that posted it actually retracted it, and then we all know how it goes from there. Now, moving ahead to yesterday, and our second piece of information comes from Ubi Johan, who responded to a post over on Reddit entitled, "The answer is not level 50, the answer is content." And to that, Johan replied, "Just jumping in to say that we have no current plans to increase the level cap in the upcoming content. More information on what lies ahead will be coming." So this question of a level cap increase or no increase caught my interest. And so I posted a poll 3 days ago asking that very same question, and this was before Johan had responded to the Reddit post, and my poll simply asked if viewers were happy about, indifferent, or strongly against a level cap increase from 40 to 50. Now, after 4,300 votes and nearly 250 comments, the results came back 28% for, 45% indifferent, and 27% strongly opposed, and I wasn't surprised, but more intrigued by the results. Now, at this point, I might as well state my viewpoint before we really dive into this topic, and for the record, I am opposed to the level cap increase when you put it into a question of black and white. You see, there's a lot of gray area in there, and for me, it would have come down to how the level cap increase was constructed and deployed into the game. At their very core, level cap increases are cheap ways to force players to engage the grind. So you've hit the end game, finally have the weaponry and gear that you've always wanted with the roles you feel comfortable with. Well, here's another 10 power levels to grind through. And oh, by the way, everything you just spent the last year hoarding, recalibrating, and optimizing is now underpowered and crap. You're welcome, agents. Now, I know that sounds like a bit of a rough reenactment, but to many players, that's how it feels. Now, jumping back into that gray area that I mentioned, and if the level cap increased used an infusion system, much like Destiny, that allowed players to farm and accumulate the necessary resources to further optimize their gear from 40 to 50 without suffering any negative effects, now I would be all for that. I personally like my builds, even though I have pretty much everything in the game and could optimize it all to max or nearly max. I still like them and how they're constructed. But I would also like to mention that I understand all the different angles and viewpoints on this topic. I can see why hardcore players with shade ranks over 1500 need and want something new to grind for, and I can also appreciate how players that don't spend very much time in this game would not embrace the idea of seeing what little god-rolled gear they have be reduced to nothing more than materials. But I think this idea of a level cap increase happening or not happening is not the main idea of what is or needs to happen for future Division content. It is one small aspect, I'm not trying to make it sound inconsequential, but in the grand scheme of the future of the game, it really is not that important. You see, the main issue here, the core at the very heart of this discussion on how the Division moves forward, has to do with two much broader ideas, and it comes down to content and modes. You see, with those two concepts embraced and handled, players wouldn't be in this debate about level cap increases and how, if they increase the level cap from 40 to 50, I'm out of here, which, by the way, I read a lot in my comment sections. So first up, let's just dispense with this idea that if we get new content, let's just say they came out with another Wony-sized expansion. Now, I personally don't believe this is going to happen, but let's just say that it does. Anyways, just because we got another major expansion is not directly chained to us getting a level cap increase. Those are not joined at the hip and are actually two distinctly different subjects. You see, if the content is well done, immersive, and implements unique concepts with new lore and mechanics, players won't be feeling the need for a power level increase. They aren't existing in the same plane of reality, as if we get one, the other simply must be. If anything, if the devs really wanted to get players to re-engage the current grind, why not try reworking many of the useless talents or underpowered weapons? I was just in the game. Of the nearly 24 body armor talents currently in the game, I would say that around 10 of them are widely used, while the other 14 are simply forgotten. I mean, does anyone really use reassigned as their body armor talent? There are also countless weapons and roughly half the gear sets in this game that most players avoid using. Why? They are either underpowered or don't function properly according to their lore text. Reworks, buffs, balancing, and getting them to function properly are basic ideas to get players back into the loop of grinding versus dropping a level cap increase onto the base. Before I jump into my next topic, I also wanted to mention that I think that the player base is not made up of the cross-section of players many of us think it is. Now, this is just a theory of mine, but as a hardcore player, I often think that the vast majority of the player base is exactly like me. They hit the grind without mercy, crush legendaries, blow out both raids multiple times a week, and in general, have every piece of gear and exotic in the game. But, and this is just a theory of mine, I suspect that as a hardcore player, I am in reality the vast minority in this Division player base. It is actually the opposite of what I think it is, and my theory is that there are many more casual Division players out there than many of us suspect. For them, hitting the grind on a daily basis is simply not a reality, and another level cap increase would be devastating for many of them because they simply can't keep up. Alright, last topic for today, and it comes down to a what now scenario, because all we currently know at this point is that there will not be a level cap increase, and as I've already stated, just because the level cap is not happening does not mean we are not getting a new expansion. I don't see another Wony-sized expansion happening, but you know, who knows. So what could we be getting in the future for the Division 2 that would not require and use a level cap increase? Well, let's use the original Division game as a basis for this, and the first thing that comes to mind is Underground. Now, I used an Underground-esque thumbnail today for this very reason. Underground could be slotted into the Division 2 as it does not use exterior portions of that New York City map. It is its own separate environment, built on the Snowdrop engine, just like the Division 2, and it could finally serve up a replayable game mode we really need. The factions could be modified to what we currently have, and of course, we need the hunters. Now, survival is another great idea, but I just don't see it happening with the Division 2. Plopping us back into New York City would not work either, as we could just boot up Division 1 and play the original over there. A last stand type mode might work in the current DZ structure, but since the DZs are limited to 12 players, it would need to be scaled down to 6v6. Now, of course, if they could grab the DZs from the current game, compress them into last stand maps, and keep the matchmaking separate from the live game, that actually might work and could possibly allow the original 8v8 concept that we were used to. No two ways around it, somewhere in here we are going to need another story expansion, as manhunts and seasons are just not going to cut it. We need to know definitively what happened to Fei Lao, the Black Tusk, and Sokolova before finally ending this chapter within the franchise. Now, I don't know if Massive or another studio currently has the firepower or resources to pull it off in such a short time frame, but it needs to happen. In the short term, there is the possibility of getting the real Codename Nightmare off the shelf and completed for later this year. We could also really use Legendary difficulty as an option on all the regular missions. We need those gear and weaponry reworks to make them viable, and am I the only one out there that is really looking forward to the day I am not required to have Contractor's Gloves and Fox's Prayer knee pads on every one of my damage builds? There are also plenty of other items out there that could be fixed and revamped in the game that could create a fresh environment and bring players back into the fold before any new content actually arrives. For one, how about rewarding solo players with better and more frequent loot drops? Because in case you haven't been paying attention, there are a boatload of solo players out there. PvP needs a major overhaul and can do wonders for that facet of the game, and there has always been this topic of needing a raid matchmaker. I guess in wrapping up, even without a level cap increase, we can have decent new content as long as the two core principles are adhered to. One, is this new content fresh, exciting, challenging, and rewarding? And secondly, is it built within a replayable mode context? Because Lord knows, we need replayability within The Division 2. That's going to wrap up today's upload, and as always, I look forward to reading your feedback in the comments section below. Don't forget to smash that sub button for intensive Division content and ring the bell to never miss a future upload notification from my channel. If you could take the time to rate and share the video, it would be greatly appreciated. Links to support my content creation include Patreon and Teespring, both in the comments section below. Don't forget to follow me on Twitch for weekly Division streams and on Twitter for all my latest thoughts on most things gaming related. Until the next one, this is LtBuzzLitebeer signing off.